Okay, hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, Gia Gun Entertainment, and I'm here today with my girlfriends, Kaila and Kiki.
Hello.
Hi! Thank you girls for joining me here on the sofa in the studio. So I wanted to make this video to talk about spreading more love and less hate. We are in a time right now where we are experiencing cancel culture to its fullest. We are seeing people take each other down on the internet. We're receiving influencers and people in the media receiving extreme amounts of hate, myself included, which I fully own up to where I went wrong. But as you guys know, going forward, I'm looking to call people in instead of calling them out. And so I wanted to bring Kaila and Kiki here today to kind of talk about our experiences as Asian women, and our experiences as, in general, surrounding, receiving hate and what we can do to kind of turn this around and further the conversation. Just to kick things off, are there any experiences that you've had in your life where you felt like you were given hate just because you are who you are, or for being Asian, or for being a woman, or any general things?
Well, it's interesting because my whole life I feel like I haven't really experienced any racism for being Asian. And I thought I never really experienced like misogyny. But I'm just kind of like looking deeper into the misogyny against women that's institutionalized.
Right.
And a lot of it is built into like the porn culture right now.
Oh.
And connected to this whole thing about the Facebook campaign, Stop Hate for Profit.
Right.
That is hate for profit. Like the torture and abuse of women made into a commodity. The average age of kids to start watching porn is at 11. So 11-year-old boys are going on to Pornhub, and this is what they see. And this is what they must think this is sex. This is normal.
Right,
yeah.
right. So you think that porn is promoting hate and violence against women?
Well, I have nothing against like wicked porn, like the glamorous, like people having sex together and enjoying sex. That's fine. But if it's like a guy sticking his cock down somebody's throat until she throws up and cries and her makeup's running, that's not okay.
Sure.
Yeah. And,
no, absolutely.
And that, what I'm describing to you is not like rare. That's just the norm.
The norm.
And they're pushing it harder and harder and seeing how far they can go.
Yeah. And we've spoken about this before, as Asians and as women, sometimes we feel like, no one's looking for our opinions, or people aren't asking us how we feel, and we're also not standing up for what we believe and kind of vocalizing our voices. It's a problem.
Yeah. I mean, I could really go deep into that.
Yeah, go deep. Go on, sis.
But I think, the Me Too movement, the whole argument is how effective can the Me Too movement actually be when all our young men are being socialized to hate and degrade women from the age of 11 years old. So I feel like the porn industry is so unregulated. Look, I had a personal experience myself where I was told that I was like going to a photo shoot, like an audition, like for this guy I went to his casting. He showed me a bunch of like magazines and like
very LA.
Yeah. But when I showed up, it was not that, and it was like way more explicit.
Wow.
Now, people have found these videos on the internet and they're like, oh, you wanted to do that. You went and did it for money. And I was like, I didn't know that was happening. Like, I had no idea what I was walking into. And then you imagine, like, okay, you're 19 years old and there's some 40-year-old man. You're alone in the room with him. You're fucking scared for your life,
Right.
And I think here's where the Asian thing plays in. You're just like, let me do whatever and get the fuck out of here.
Right.
Like, let me just like just get out.
Right.
And then what's been interesting is that in January, 22 women sued a major porn company called Girls Do Porn. and they won $13 million because guys were tricking them and saying, hey, we're going to shoot you for magazines. But then they showed up and it was not that.
Not that.
Yeah.
Oh.
And unfortunately, mine happened to me 22 years ago. Like, I actually spoke to a lawyer, and it's beyond the statute of limitations, which is another question of, like, when, like, the statute of limitations should be. It took me this long to even, like, start asking the question.
Right.
So that's 10 years is not enough.
Right. And to understand what happened to you.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, there's things that have happened to me in the past and traumas that have happened to me in the past that up until quarantine and this pandemic, was I actually able to reveal these issues and face these issues and go into therapy and kind of address these issues. So I totally am with you. Kiki, what about you? Have you ever experienced any sort of hate for whether it was being Asian or just being who you were or just hate in general?
I think, like, because I grew up in a pretty, like, it was a pretty white community. We've talked on our podcast about this. And, like, I remember my mom actually walked in on me when I was 8 years old. And I was washing my face. And it was, like, in the middle of the day. And my mom was like, what are you doing? Why are you washing your face? And I was like, oh, I'm just trying to wash the brown off of my face. And I was 8. I didn't know.
Oh.
And, like, I just had no idea, you know?
Yeah.
And, like, my mom was, like, you know, heartbroken. I didn't know. I was just trying to wash it off. Or, like,
This doesn't work.
I'm like, it's still there. And, like, but, you know, it was hard because the community I grew up in is nothing against the community. They're fabulous people. And there's only 2% Asians, maybe, like, 3 or 4 Asian families in the entire place. And, like, you know, you became accustomed to, like, the Asian derogatory terms that at the time, you know, they're kids, so they don't know they're being derogatory or discriminatory. And then you grow up and you just take it in and it becomes the norm. But what I was good at was laughing and just like being like, yeah, it's fun. Like, this is all.
Asian guy.
Yeah, just because it's funny. And then I was taking in all of this, like, racist stuff, but it was so part of, like, my, like, existence that I didn't even realize it until I came here. Went to UC Irvine with a bunch of Asians. I was like, University of Japanese Immigrants. And I'm like, okay. And then I didn't realize that people don't have to, like, say derogatory terms about Asian
Oh, they were saying, your friends
Yeah.
were saying this to you.
Oh, my friends are saying it to me. After coming here, it was almost like quiet in a sense of, and like quiet in terms of, like, there was no hate towards how I looked, which was such a weird feeling. I almost, like, felt like it's almost like psychological abuse. Like, you're like, why isn't somebody
so
saying
strange that they were just always saying this.
all the time?
Like, what the heck were they saying?
Just saying shit like, you know, oh, like, gook, shovelhead, like, fuck, like.
To you?
Yeah, oh, yeah. But I was hanging out with a lot of guys, so, you know, you tease
So
and
everybody
poke.
is like,
Yeah,
everybody's saying
like,
stuff.
poke at each other.
Okay.
So gooked is an actual racial slur.
Oh, yeah. It's,
Because, you know, well, I don't know, in my community or my industry, like, they would always say, like, oh, we gooked you, gal, or gooked you at the pageant, which means, like,
oh, shit.
or, like, you know, like, if I got stood up, like, at a date, I'd be like, oh, he gooked me, girl.
Wait,
Is
but how do you, is it like
G-O-O-K-E-D.
Oh.
Gook.
But that might be different.
But I don't
Okay.
think gook is used as commonly. It's more chink. Like,
Yeah.
Cheek, okay.
Yeah.
racist, like, it's not anything as bad as the N-word.
No.
Like, there isn't
Yeah.
one for Asians that it has that
And,
kind of...
and why is that? Why do we think that, like, Asians are
That's a good
just
point.
not as targeted?
Because they're quiet, I think. So it's kind of like we just play the game
Right.
Yeah.
quietly.
Right. Which for me, honestly, you guys, and to all you guys watching this, I'm so tired of playing the game. I'm so tired of with the stunts and the shows. As I said before, I've been doing shows for so many years in my life that I'm so tired of having to play this game and being silenced. And I am truly here on my channel going to start having simple conversations with people because all voices, especially right now, are valid and matter. And so anytime you can have a conversation with somebody, bring clarity to things, compare and contrast, have differences, but talk them through, this is what change truly looks like. And this is how I believe we're honestly going to be able to move forward. Because as we continue to try to cancel people and comfort people and just point out what people are doing wrong, and that's not giving them... So long as we point fingers and try to cancel people and cancel their viewpoints and all their efforts, that's not really giving people space or room to grow. I know that I am not a perfect human. I know that I have much more growth ahead of me, more than what I've already done. And so what I'm here to say is, let's be a little bit more patient with each other, and let's be just a little bit more compassionate to people. Because, you know, there's a saying, when you show a lack of compassion, especially like for a transgender person, you're opening a door for violence. And
Right.
I by all means am not trying to play the victim role, but I believe that that's kind of what I'm experiencing right now, right? It's like, I made a mistake, I made an apology, I owned up to my mistakes, but now some way, somehow, it's like my platform is being messed with, my money's being messed with, my lifestyle, I'm receiving death threats, people are saying really nasty, horrible things to me, all because I made a mistake and really affected people because I was insensitive, you know?
Look, I think what you said was so minor. I mean, there's a lot of horrible stuff going on right now, and I guarantee that if you spent a number of years on the internet, you've said something stupid at some point that can be misconstrued. Like, you can't just pick out one thing. Okay, if you said, like, a string of things over and over and it's a pattern, then that's, you know, a thing.
Which, like, we're seeing a lot of, you know, these bigger names. I'm not here, again, to call anyone out because it doesn't matter. But as we've seen time and time again, there's people that are being accused of the same things over and over and over again, but some way, somehow, they still get a pass, right? With the millions of followers, the millions of dollars, the PR behind them, it's like, will we ever really be able to take these people down? And why do we want to take these people down? Let's kind of move on and let's put our energies towards good things and people that are trying to contribute to change. And yes, may make mistakes, but also truly have good intentions. There was something that I read on the internet, not only because I'm going through this in my life for the very first time, but because I think people need to hear. In cancel culture, the punishment rarely fits the crime. There are absolutely some people whose ideas and actions are so dangerous that they don't deserve a platform. There are also people who mean well, but who have made mistakes, who have said the wrong thing, who have tweeted something they regret. The problem with cancel culture is that it treats all of these people the same way, as if they are all equally dangerous and deserving of equal punishment. Nobody would argue that Jaclyn Hill selling defective lipsticks and R. Kelly committing sexual assault were crimes of equal severity. But on social media, the public reaction to both of these events somehow came to look the same.
No, wait a second. Now, is this a male thing? Because R. Kelly is male, and the other people you mentioned are male, so women are taking the brunt of this cancel culture, like getting more of a punishment?
I mean, the person that tried to out me is a white gay male, and all the other drag queens that jumped on the bandwagon are also white males. So I think we do see something kind of in common here, and that leads me to the next part of the conversation, which is, what is the bigger picture here? What is the actual conversation? Because I believe what we're experiencing is systemic racism each and every single day.
And misogyny.
And misogyny, and people don't realize this. And you girls know, me being a trans woman who comes from drag culture, which is what? An industry filled and predominantly male, right? Because drag queens are not women.
Yeah.
And women are not really welcome in these spaces. Women are not really welcome in gay clubs, right? Now we have bio queens, which are biological women that are getting up in drag. And like the drag world are not accepting of these women because what? They don't have penises. You know, in the pageant world, it's so weird. You know, there's these pageants that celebrate trans women to promote trans excellence, right? It's like this glamorized idea, the hair, the makeup, the body, all of it is the ideal excellence of a woman. Do you know that if a trans woman in a lot of these pageant systems go through the surgery and the full transition, meaning they surgically obtained vaginas, you can no longer compete because you're no longer.
But how can they?
Because you're no
No,
longer.
But how are they checking?
Yes.
Oh,
Do you
Like, that
believe?
seems offensive.
Do you believe there are? I've heard from in the past.
Wow.
From one woman who everyone thought was a post-op, but wasn't. She had to physically get touched before she was able to compete at a pageant just to make sure it was still there.
God.
How fucked up is that?
That's so twisted
You know?
to see, because I grew up like not feeling misogyny like towards me. It's only when I started digging that I see this against women, and then seeing the Me Too movement and everything. But it's like surprising for me to see it in a culture that should be more open-minded to
Well, you would
people who
think.
are being, oppressed.
Well, that's why I'm here to tell everybody, we want to believe it or not, there's a great divide between the gay community and the trans community. And that is one of our biggest issues within the community that we need to get a hold of. And so once again, I'm calling in my white males with privilege, gay or not, to please help elevate trans voices and be a part of this conversation. Because tweeting and sharing and trying to cancel women of color is not working. You guys need us just as much as I need you. But in order for us to evolve and in order for us to continue this process of education, we need each other. And let's be a little bit more compassionate to those that deserve it and stop focusing on those that don't deserve it. Okay, one thing I want to talk about is just, so, since this whole coronavirus thing, I haven't experienced any hate or any backlash, but have you girls witnessed or heard of, people giving Asians a hard time right now just because, the theories behind where the virus came from and all that stuff?
I've heard of a lot. I mean, there's a
Right.
Facebook group showcasing like all the hate that is happening. I haven't personally experienced it unless you count like posting a TikTok video of some 12-year-old saying go back to China. But I don't really count that.
Right.
But nobody's said anything to my face.
Right, and me as well. How about you?
I think we're really lucky too in Los Angeles.
yeah.
Because,
Yes.
we're in a community where people are really accustomed to Asians, Koreatown, little Tokyo, everything. So here we're very, very lucky. There has been a number of people that have been hitting up my, what's the message requests. And
Oh,
sometimes I
yes.
guiltily will look through there.
Yes.
And I've been getting a lot of very specifically 50s to 60-year-old white males that are strangely messaging me and saying, why are you supporting the Black Lives Matter movement? Because you are Asian, and 3 months ago, Black people were against Asians. And I think that was another narrative that he was trying to tell, that is trying to create a divide amongst people of color or of anyone that's not white to just go against each other.
Yeah, because a white guy can just sit there and just observe it.
Right.
Like, he
Right.
doesn't need to get,
Exactly.
Exactly.
And I thought that was the problem with this was that there were multiple people of that same type of person. And it was even weirder is that they had Asian wives. Yeah. Yeah, right? The cringe. And these cringy kinds of people are I don't know what it was, and I was like, you know what I feel about that? Post more. So I just kept trying to I didn't argue or get mad with the person, but I just
there's no point
continued
in
to share.
arguing with
Yeah,
that type of person.
it wasn't even worth it. But
And besides the fact that if there were some racist Black individuals, that
Right.
doesn't represent
the community.
all Black people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you have to understand too is that when you are the model minority, I guess, considered, is that you don't get under, we as Asians aren't under fire as much as Black people. And because of that, I couldn't imagine being a Black person and being constantly under fire.
Yeah, could
amongst
it
the
be
cops.
the white supremacist that caused him to be racist, and then he just passes it on somebody else?
510%.
Yeah.
That's what, and I don't even blame that person in a sense, even though it just so happens that Asians are being targeted, but it's because of the oppression and it's because of the persistent unfairness that happens to them daily that they feel that they have to lash out, and it just so happened that we were
It's an
around.
easy target
We are
of
easy
COVID,
target.
yeah.
Yeah, we're easy target with COVID, and we're quieter. We're more like the friends, like we're
Right.
friend to everyone, so it's easy for them to target. And I don't necessarily, is it right? No, but do I blame them? Not necessarily. This is the world we live in today, and that's why I love what you're saying about having conversations, making a difference by speaking rather than just by blatantly taking action and trying to call people out and throw them under the bus. I think like discussing and hearing out perspectives and trying to understand where people are coming from is a great
Right.
way to move forward rather than take everything down.
Yeah, I mean, let's think about if the theories behind the virus were to come from a black person or from Africa or something. I mean, what would the repercussions really be? Us being, if we were 3 black women sitting here, we would probably be saying, yes, we have been, we have been targeted, we have experienced things, but because we're Asian,
Right. Yeah.
we're not as targeted. People don't see us as big of a threat for some reason. I was talking with my friend who's a very successful makeup artist, and his parents are actually, they come from the land. I'm not exactly sure. I think they might be Korean, but don't quote me. And he was sharing with me kind of like what his father's viewpoint was on all of this, which was, well, I too came from nothing, but I came to this country with a dream, with a goal, with, hard work, and I was able to excel. So therefore, I don't have as much compassion for the whole BLM movement because I too was them.
But it's different. Because you don't walk into a
Right.
store and people like
Right.
grab their bags,
Right.
as an
Right.
Asian person.
Right. The people that are maybe like more first generation Asians, they actually had to deal with a lot of discrimination and adaptation. It's hard for the older generations to understand the Black Lives Matter movement because they feel like they have struggled, they have gone through.
Right.
And I've had this discussion. My uncle's actually a Asian American sociology studies, and it's really interesting. So I've been like tapping his brain a lot about it because I'm curious about where do we stand in this movement
Yeah.
and where are we supposed to be? And
Right.
I think a lot of older Asian generations aren't with it because they think that their voices aren't being voiced also, and that they went through similar struggles, but they aren't being heard. But they also don't understand the real, true systemic racism that's been integrated for hundreds of years in
Yeah.
the U.S. history. So it's incomparable in a sense, just like you said. And I think ultimately we need to act. We have a privilege as the model minority to stand up for those voices that go unheard daily.
Yeah, no, for sure. And, I think it's such a funny time right now, too. I think a lot of people don't really know how to act or what to say or what to feel. And, we need to give each other time to also think and, again, be patient with each other because we're all kind of in the same boat right now, Things have been very up and down, but I think for the most part, people are equally as, scared, uncomfortable, struggling, and just mentally not well. Yeah. So the next time, that you're going to click that button or speak out, myself included, I ask that we just take 2 seconds to ask ourselves, are we really contributing something positive to this time right now? Because right now, that's all that we need. We only need positivity, words of encouragement, compassion, and love because there's a lot going on right now. Thank you, ladies, so much for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Yes, and thank you guys so much for listening, and I'll see you again right here on my channel, Gia Gun Entertainment. Let me know in the comment section kind of what you guys are thinking, and let's continue to call each other in and not call each other out. Bye!